level if I hadn't gone through it. So yeah, I just, those things, this you can't let your past define you. I mean, we all are older now. We know that you only have but so much time on this planet. I can't spend my time looking back at some mistakes I made. Like, I'm all about this growth, right? And if you're really about growth, then there's nobody that's perfect. So yeah, those things don't define me. They just I had no problem. People ask me all the time. I had no problem writing this book. Like it was great therapy.
Ah, thank you. Um, Candice, are you here?
I had myself on mute, sorry.
Um, you, you had notes, you had questions, go ahead.
Oh, I guess, I mean, there's a few things that I guess you could touch on just based on everything that, as you said, like so many different obstacles, so many things that happened throughout the book and everything. How did you, I guess, did you leave anything out of the story that you feel like you could have put into it that you left out? And how did you decide what specific obstacles or what specific chain of scenarios did you want to put in the book and how you wanted to structure it? How did you decide that?
Honestly, I started writing that book 10 years ago and it kind of sat on my desk. But kind of exactly what I was just talking about. It sat on my desk because life happened, right? So I may have made it through 5 chapters, but I caught a lot of really good stuff in that first 5 chapters. And then a decade passed as it sat on my desk, and I was able to kind of like really just go back and just methodically go through my life after I read that 5 chapters again, and it also it stimulated other thoughts in my process in my head, and I just really was able to kind of just methodically just lay out, the most important parts, the most important challenges of my life. I mean, I probably left. I mean, sometimes now when I look back at that book, I left some things out, but nothing that was like incredibly like important. I captured everything that needed to be captured in that book. And yeah, I didn't ever have a part of my process never was like trying to disseminate what goes in and what goes out. I was more about transparency anyway, right? Like I'm one of those people to this day that, I am who I am. So I always felt like when I was putting that book together that, it's gonna inspire somebody else. So you have to put your raw self out there. I don't subscribe to this whole social media generation. That's not my thing. Like I'm not sitting there saying I'm perfect. That's nonsense. That's just nonsense. Like everybody knows that. That's just nonsense. So I'm just more about, this is what happened to me. This is my life. This is where I am now. You know, I went through it. I know you're probably going through some things, but it's okay. So yeah, it was just methodically just going back in my brain. A lot of stuff was already written down. But it wasn't really hard to come up with that last 10 chapters because I just I mean when a lot of that is traumatic, right? You don't forget traumatic situations. Like they're always there, you know? So it was just more about me just putting together the timeline.
That's actually great. You kind of touched on my second question a little bit, but I guess I want you to like expand on it a bit more. You did say something about inspire people that would read your book. So I guess my follow-up question is, what do you exactly want the book to do? And I guess inspire, but yeah, you could, you know, kind of go into deeper meaning of that.
I want my book to show people that we all are challenged. We all go through a lot of different things, but if you stay focused and motivated, you can make it to anywhere. You can go as far as you want to go. And that's not just hyperbole, it's true. We all have goals and if you focus on your goals and you don't focus on the nonsense, you'll be able to move forward. So that's what I want people to get from my book, specifically in the culture. That look at the environment we're in now. We're about to be challenged again. So it's going to be time for everybody to step up and step in because we've been through this. We have generations and generations of ancestors that have been through this already. So now the challenge is going to be on us. Like, how do we push through all of this noise, all of this nonsense, all of these laws that are being rolled back, all these opportunities that are being taken away from us? What are we going to do? So that's what that book does. That book says, no matter what you face, you can be okay.
Also, like when I look at like your like your parents, if I could just go a little bit into deep, when I look at like your parental figure in the book also, and just like the type of person that your parents were, and they had like very different characteristics and stuff. I guess there's a point in people's life where you're at a certain age where you say, I wish I was, well, I don't know if everybody did this, do this, but I guess people normally say, I wish I was born in a different life, or I had different parents, or they try to blame their parents or blame their situation or circumstance, or how they grew up for the reason of how their life turned out or certain things that they got into. At any point in your life, did you ever like, based on the things that you went through, your mom, your father, like ever at a point in your life say, kind of use that as an excuse? And if you did, how did you get past that? And if you didn't, how did you not use that as an excuse?
If I'm looking at my mom, my dad was wild. So my my dad and I, we did get along. The latter part, I mean, that we kind of caught up, but the earlier part of my life, we just didn't get along. So if there was a parent that I had any animosity towards, it probably would have been him. However, when I was young, I was angry because I was immature. I really didn't know how to handle his absence. So that was what it was. However, at in college, he tried to come back around and really try to be at least available. Um, and that was that. So my point here is that when you're young, I don't think that when you're going through college and you're in a certain phase in your life, you're going to be learning. You're learning life. So I don't think the blame game works either way it goes because you're young. When you're a grown adult, I don't believe that whole situation taught me. My parents taught me that you really can't have any excuses because now that once I became a grown adult and I became a parent, I understood that like relationships aren't perfect. He was just trying his best. He was giving it everything he had. My mom did too. And I am going to be who I was going to be, right? So even through developing that book, I started to really clarify and realize that I wouldn't be me without either one of them, right? Both of them contributed so much to me as a person, positives and negatives. You know, I wouldn't be me. My mom was always outside the box. Like before it became a term, my mom was just outside the box. Period. She just thought about things differently. So everybody kind of looked at her like she's a little different, and she is different. But her teaching me how to teach the thing outside the box at an early age has incredible. I'm incredibly equipped now because every single challenge, I always feel like the question is, how do I figure it out? It's not about the challenge anymore. It's how do I figure out how fast can I figure it out, right? So that takes away all these excuses. Like I always feel like there's an answer somewhere in there. Just figure it out, right? And then the same thing with my dad. He wasn't the best, but as a grown adult now, again, I mean, I'm an entrepreneur, a very successful entrepreneur, only because he was an entrepreneur. That's the only reason. Because if he had just stuck with those little, if he had stuck with a little 9 to 5, there's no way I'm here. There's no way I'm here. So again, I don't have any excuses. I just don't. I don't see where making up excuses or looking at the past or pointing the finger how that helps you. I don't see how it helps you because everybody, I think every person on the planet has had some kind of challenge and was bullied as a kid and drama. Like, come on. And then again, think about the generation now. They made this whole big thing about bullying. Everybody was bullied when I was a kid. Everybody was bullied when I was a kid. And there was nobody coming along and talking about, let's go to the principal's office and talk about this. You got bullied, you got bullied. Yeah, you got to keep it moving, you know? So this is what I'm saying. Like the way that generation that we are part of, or I'm a part of, it's kind of like, keep going, make it happen, do what you do. No excuses, right? It's going to turn out the way it's going to turn out. But pointing the finger and using that as a crutch, nah, absolutely not. I mean, it can't get you anywhere.
I agree. I definitely agree. And I mean, you touched on a lot of different things in what you said. It's actually just like this conversation as a whole, you know, I mean, this generation, I'm part of this generation, by the way. But I agree in the sense that I do think this generation is sort of soft, but I think a lot of things have to do with that. Culture matters, it depends on where you grew up matters, who your parents were, similar to what you were saying. But then also person matter, like the person themselves. Because, at some point, as you say, you got to take responsibility for your life and you can't play the blame game forever. But I think what ends up happening and the reason why, there's like the soft generation, quote unquote, is because the blame game is comfortable. It's comfortable to blame someone else for something that happened or blame someone else or, issues you went through or whatever. And it's like, I guess it's like, how do you even get out of that? Like, how do you step out and like say, you know what? I mean, I've done it, but how do you step out and say, I'm not going to do that, or look at your situation a different way? Stuff like that. I guess as for you as the author of this book, which is, as you said, you inspire people, you wanted the book to inspire people, and hopefully even a generation today, I guess, if you were supposed to tell, this generation something regarding what you went through and how you've overcome and how you didn't play the blame game and how you looked on your scenario and, thought of it in a positive light and tried to make the best of it, I guess what advice would you give to them to say, I did it, you can do it too, but not in that way. Maybe in a way that they would be able to analyze their own life, like an advice, basically.
Oh, the biggest piece of advice I try to give young people is cut out the screen time. That's the biggest differentiator, right? They've been raised behind a screen. That's
Hmm.
the way they've communicated. That's the way they found their little, people that they admire. They follow celebrities. They see this world out there that really isn't realistic. And the problem with that is when they are in face-to-face, one-on-one situations, they're not used to it. It throws them totally off because they're so used to communicating via
Hmm.
text and via screen and on the computer at the best. When one-on-one interaction, their social skills are gone. So that's where they fall short, right? They can't handle true social interaction, which is again, during our time, everybody was out on the playground. Everybody was riding the bike. Everybody was outside. Outside was a big deal. Get home before the lights come out, but you could be out as late as that, right? Like, come on, think about that. Like that, the level of engagement for this generation that we had, it was totally a different level. And now these kids, my son always video games, video games. It's like, what kid, when are you gonna go out and connect with your friends? And he'll do it once. It's 10% of his time is really trying to engage with people. The rest is screen time. My daughter, IG, TikTok, dancing around all day. I'm like, when are you gonna sit there and dance in front of that screen for 24 hours? Like, what are we doing here? So that's the thing that I talk to them about. Like, let's dial that back and let's like start getting engaged more in one-on-one, real FaceTime, so you can start practicing your skill set. So you won't be so intimidated when somebody pushes back on you publicly or in your face. You're not like, like you ready. Like you have to be ready, right? Like everybody's not hiding behind a screen. There are some kids they're really personable and they're ready to talk. you know? So that's my thing. Like with that generation, I'm trying to like pull them back. Like let's focus on, that one-on-one time. It'll take you a long way skill set wise.
Definitely
I
agree.
I definitely agree. Like I have three sons, and I'm like when I'm talking, I know they're not listening. Right? I just know they're not listening, but they'll say okay, and then when it's time to do what I just told you to do, they're not listening. So like when we were talking about like are you a millennial, Marcel?
I'm Generation X.
So I'm a millennial. Like when your parents or somebody was talking to you, you better be listening and do what they told you to do. These kids, they okay, 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 and then I'm like, really, nothing that I asked you to do. What you doing? And then when you was talking about, I have a son that he doesn't understand that there are kids out here that they're not gonna be talking to you. So don't act like you're tough and all that. You gotta be prepared. If you say something out your mouth, prepared for the response. And he's just like, I didn't know that child. So I'm just like, how do you have a son and a daughter, but besides the screen time, like what else are you saying? Because I know that they're teenagers or they're preteens, whatever, and it takes a while for them to get stuff through their brains and stuff. But what else are you saying to help develop some of these skills that they're lacking?
The one thing for Bryce, who's a true introvert, I was very happy to see him play sports, honestly.
Mm.
Because it helped him understand how to engage with other people, what teams meant. I actually saw him grow through track and playing basketball. Like those two things changed it for him because it first of all created a regimen for him. He had to work hard, practice, but also again that one-on-one engagement and starting to understand, oh, we are a team. Everybody depends on each other. That kind of thing helped him kind of come out of the shell. He's a lot different kid now. When he was younger, again, he was all computers. Now that he's in college, he's definitely more going out with my friends. La la la. We were in Washington D.C. Like he's broken out. But I really give sports that credit because my family was an academic family, right? I'm the only person that was an athlete. I didn't want him to really play football because concussions. So I kind of like just watched him, and he was really closed and kind of quiet and just all computers and systems until he started playing sports. And then that kind of brought him out of the shell. People going to track meets, everybody kind of recognizing him. It was just a different level of engagement, and it actually opened him up. And that's why I said I already know like the secret sauce for that generation. You just have to get them all start to engage a lot more often.
Thank you for sharing. I wanted to also ask you, going back to your parents, did you go through this process, this grieving process of realizing that, because I went through it, of realizing that your parents are, I had to realize that my parents are just people, right? That I put them on a pedestal because I thought that as my parents, they were supposed to do X, Y, Z, and they did whatever they wanted to do. So how did you go through? Because I had to go to therapy and understand that, and I didn't know that you could grieve people while they're alive. And I was like, "What you talking about?" And she's like, "It's a lost relationship." So you're going through the loss of not having a parent. Because I went no contact with my mom for like 3 years. Um, and I didn't understand like why do I feel like that? How did you go through the process of understanding and realizing like, what? They're just people, right?
Yeah, I think my biggest struggle was with definitely with my dad because he really wasn't educated. I think like sixth grade education, and he didn't really know how to parent me, specifically me, because I have a pretty strong personality. So his way of trying to motivate me was putting me down all the time, telling me what I wasn't going to be. And I, I kind of, it's like you said. I mean, there is a lot of grievance there because, he just wasn't there during my teenage years. So I had to just become my own man and I had to find role models. I really had to focus on role models, positive black people that could actually that I would actually see, and I was like, oh, I could be like that. And that I think that's the benefit of me being the only child, right? You can be really creative. So those people kind of replaced who he was. And then when he tried to come back, we just were never good. We just weren't because he tried to come back, and I was daggone near a grown adult. So I'm like sitting here like you trying to play the father role now and tell me what to do. I'm 21 in college, about to graduate. Where were you? So we just never, ever, ever were able to get back on the same footing. However, I did notice that like for me, once I started becoming successful, I didn't rub it in his face. I didn't go, yeah, see, you were wrong. I let my life speak for itself. And I watched him really realize how wrong he was. And he capitulated, you know? And to me that was it. It was like kind of we were going to be good after that. I think that once I wrote the book, he had passed away. Then I kind of closed out the whole chapter because I was kind of like, wow, he's gone. We weren't good. We kind of got okay. We probably about 80% before he died. Because again, like for me, I was like, come down for Christmas whenever you want. My door's always gonna be open to you, long as you don't bring your drama, right? That was a rule. That was a rule, man. I'm like, long as you don't bring that nonsense that you used to bring when I was a kid, you just want to be in granddad mode, you can come here whenever you want. We're good. So the fact that I left that door open, always, communicated with him on that level, and then when it closed out and he passed away, I think that was closure once he passed away and I finished the book because finally, when I finished that book, I really truly realized exactly what I said earlier. I was like, with all his flaws, no matter what, if he wasn't present, I wouldn't be who I am. And that was a wrap, right? I had forgiven him for all that drama. I had let it all go. And like I really have never been a person to believe in closure, but I think that's the one time in my life where I really feel like I was able to get closure. Like I was like, the circle is complete now. Through all of the nonsense I went through with him, I really realized that look, again, if he wasn't who he was, then you would not be here and you would not be doing what you're doing. So like, let's just let it go. So that's what closure is, right? You like literally close the chapter and you're really willing to just let it go. You know, and it goes back to what Candace was saying, like, it'll never be a crutch, right? I'm never going to be running around saying, oh, my dad didn't do this, my dad didn't do that. No, my dad did what he was supposed to do. He might not have done it perfectly, but he did what he was supposed to do. What's up, Candace?
Yeah, I definitely want to add to that. I feel like it could relate on so many levels. Like my mom passed away like when I was like 15, 14, 15, and I lived with my mom for like the entirety of my life. My dad always lived in the US, but we never had a great relationship. And when my mom passed away and I came to the US, my expectations of for what I had for my dad kind of like led what I wanted. So I had my own expectations and I placed that onto my father, sort of like, well, my mom passed away, so now you have to make up for all the years you missed, and now you have to do it for me. And quickly, I found out that that wasn't going to happen. And it took me some time. It took me some time to like, I struggled with not understanding why it was happening. And as a person that takes care of responsibilities and things that I have to do, I never understood why he didn't want to take care of me or me being his responsibility. And then slowly, I guess I started to realize, like, wait a minute, he's just a person. Like, like he's literally just a person. Like, I had to take away my expectations.
Hmm.
I had to look at myself, like, why was I expecting something? Like, what I wanted so much. And I started to realize I just wanted what everybody else had, which was, that two-parent loving household or that father that always showed up. And it was like, yes, but that's not your life. And it's okay. It doesn't have to be your life. That doesn't have to be your life, and you just have to come to terms with reality of what it is. Similar to what you were saying, Marcel, just accept it. Like, okay, this is what it is, and this is what's going to be. And I feel like once I started to just be okay with this is what it is, and not like, in a bad way where I resented him or anything. It was just kind of like, okay, this is who you are. I can't expect anything more. You're showing me who you are, and I just have to expect it for what it is, and that's it. And then also looking at myself and saying, well, if this is what it is, what am I going to do? How am I going to move forward? And that truly helped me because now I was able to carve out my own goals outside of expecting nothing from my father, but carving out what I wanted for my life, what I wanted for myself, and stop putting my expectations onto others, and also just seeing him as a person. He was just a regular person. It was like, yes, you are my father, or earthly father, or whatever, but you're at the same time you're just a person, like anybody, any other stranger on the street. And I think once you start to think about life that way, with not just parents, but with anybody, I think it changes your perspective on things. You no longer attach yourself or attach your expectations to things or to people. You just let things be. And you are so focused now on yourself and what you have to do for yourself. And that definitely helped me as a young person. That definitely changed my perspective on like grieving my dad or whatever. Now it was just like, okay, you're alive, you're there, I'm here. Cool. What am I doing? So that's how I did that. But that took a lot of self-work. That took a lot of like looking at myself and looking at why I wanted it so bad, and what I didn't have as a child, and what it meant to me now to have this. And so it took a lot of like self-work. It also took a lot of like reality check, like look at reality, what it is in your face. So that's how I did that. And it's really been rewarding. So
Yeah, that's
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 my answer to that.
yeah. And Sherry said it. You just have to realize that your parents are just regular people. That's it. I think people just put these high expectations on other people for whatever reason that is. When at the end of the day, they regular people. When I take that all the way up to celebrities, I mean, they're just blessed people with great talent, but I mean, they're not superhuman. They're just like everybody else. They just actually they caught a couple of breaks and they took advantage of their talent, and there they are. But yeah, I'm not that kind of person that I look at anybody's life and go, oh, why is my life like that? Like, nah, I just go, that's their life. That's cool. Like, I just but my life is like you said, Candace, I focus on me, what I have on my plate every single day. I don't focus on other people unless you're family. If you're not family, then like I'm not really, I'm not, it's just what you say. Your opinions is cool. You can have it, but nowhere near will it touch me or define me. That's why I could write a book like that, right? Because I'm totally like cool with transparency. I'm like, no matter what it is, none of that defines me. It just made me. That's two different things.
You sound just like me, and I just wanted to ask you a question. So you said you talked a lot about like concentrating on you and just focusing on you and what you need to do. How do you because a lot of people, when I'm just focused on myself and what I need to do, a lot of people see that as being selfish or like acting funny or whatever. How do you go about that with like people who say, why are you acting like that, or acting funny, or you're being selfish because they're not focusing on everything else around you?
Well, two things there. One, I'm a leader, right? So if I go down, everybody goes down. Right? Right. So like
Okay.
my comment, if the boss not there, then nobody gets paid, right? So I'm first thing I'm thinking about, and I'm always going to take care of myself. That's just the way this works because I don't have anybody else to lean on. I don't, my mom is grown. Like I'm not going to my mama. Like like what? I don't really have anybody to turn to, and I'm totally cool with that, right? Because I always like making my own decisions and being responsible for my own future. But yeah, that's the first stepping stone right there. Like you can't take care of anybody. You can't be a great mom if you're not in a good space. You know, so it's kind of what we're talking about when it comes to people in general, how they've been parented, right? I think a lot of people kind of try to brush that off, but no, parenting is everything, right? So I got to be the best version of me so I can be a great parent. That's just the number one thing. Number two, listen, people will let you down. We already know this. This is not a secret. So why would I be putting a whole lot of stock in people? I'm always like cautiously optimistic. I want my friends, I want my friends to come through. But when they don't come through, I'm not surprised. When they don't show up for an event, I'm not surprised. When they give you that last minute bull ass call, I couldn't make it because I'm not surprised. Like, because people have their own agendas. That's just the bottom line. Whatever's on that person's agenda, whatever's important to that person, they're going to prioritize. That does not have to mean it's going to be you. And that's the whole point there, right? Like, so since that's the way I look at people in general. I mean, again, I'm focusing on me because I need to drive this train forward as far as I can take it before God calls my name. And when He called my name, you're not gonna be there. Like this is me and Him right now. So I'm not worried about what other people think. Like I know my mission and my level of focus, and it's going to have to be. It has to be 100% on where I'm going in life. Because the people that are depending on me want me to make sure they need me to get to where I'm going, right? So yeah, like when people have their, pay more attention to me, I'm like, you pay attention to you, like, you get you a hug somewhere else because I'm not the one right now. Like I'm doing my thing. So yeah, you can't excel in this world if you're split in five directions. That's impossible. You have to definitely be laser focused on the things that matter, and you're gonna have to make some sacrifices. But if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, it'll all be worth it.
And
Thousand,
that is
I
so true.
1000% agree with you with that one. I also feel like another thing I've noticed too is people don't like people that are different. So if you're
Right.
doing something that is different from what people usually do, they're gonna look at you like you're weird. So if you decide out of the whole week, you decide on the weekend, you usually go out one weekend, you say, you know what, I'm gonna stay inside and I'm going to read a book or do something different. They're going to automatically think you're weird because you're not doing what you usually do or they're expecting you to do. And that's people's expectation that they're putting onto you. And you can't adopt that. You can never adopt that because it's just going to drain your energy. So when people try to, say, oh, you're selfish, you're this, you're that, that's just their expectations onto you. That's how, because they want to frame you to fit their life, but you have to frame yourself for your own life. And that's how I've like done that also. It's just like, yo, I don't care what anyone has to say. Have to think about since Marcel said you have to think about life like a tunnel vision, kind of like I got this one chance to do what I can in this world, and I'm not gonna let anyone take it from me or tell me otherwise. No, I run my shit, I do what I want to do, and that's just period. And if anyone doesn't like it, well, just you just don't like it, and that's what it is. But you just gotta do what's best for you and what you feel right, and don't let other people bring you down, make you sad or feel guilty for what they want you to do.
Yep. You're responsible for your outcomes.
I really like that. Thank you. Yeah, it just, most people I don't care, but there's just certain people that just get to you when you say stuff. Like, if I don't really know somebody, then I'm like, whatever. But there's just certain people that could just get to you when they make little comments like that. That's why
Yeah.
I
Again, are not, a lot of people are definitely not comfortable when, is what Candace said. You're doing your own thing, you're controlling your own lane, and you let them know, I'm not dependent on you. Some people want to be, depended on. They want you to be, like, oh, where are you? I can't go to the store without you. Like, nah. When people see that you're doing your own thing and you rolling on your own and you kind of just owning your own lane, a lot of people, first of all, are either intimidated by that or they just don't like it. It's one of the two. And again, that's not something that I'm concerned with because, I'm doing me. That's God gave me this life. I got to do me the best I could do with it. So I'm not, other people don't, I just, that whole thing just doesn't even move me.
had a question. How did you go about because I know it's one thing to from being just by yourself and then becoming a parent. How did you go about when you first learned you were going to be a parent? Like this, I know for me, I was like, I had a rough childhood and I don't want to have anything that I didn't like. I'm not gonna do it for my child. Um, mm, how did you go through that process of I'm gonna be a parent and I wanna, you know, do right by this child that I have? Like, what was your process like? I just did the opposite of what my parents did and prayed that it worked.
Well, when I had my first daughter, I was only basically 19, going on 20, right? So it was more about fear at that point because I was like, oh wow, I have this little girl that now is dependent on me. So luckily again, I had a really good mom that was really a good support network for me and her. And my mom really just gave me an opportunity to kind of still grow and get through college and everything. But like you said, I think a lot of us that if we were raised in a little hectic situation, that's the number one thing is with my kids, even to this day, is I'm just gonna be better than my parents, period. Like, right? Like, and I tell them that you got to be better than me. In every category, that's got to be the goal. Like, be better than me, right? Don't just achieve, but achieve more than me. So that was my total focus going in. Like, my dad wasn't around anyway. I was like, I'm always gonna be here for this kid, no matter what. Like, she'll know me. Every event, every time something comes up, whenever she needs me, I'll be there, right? That was my number one goal that I achieved. Like, she never had a time when I wasn't around. Any of them. And that's it. It's like you said, like, I think the best parents, we look at all the nonsense that we went through and we go, yeah, that my kid's not going to go through that. I'm gonna be opposite of that. And I think that makes you a great parent. I just think, and I think the biggest thing, especially within the culture, just gotta hold our kids accountable. Yeah, I get tired. I mean, when I see some young kid get in trouble out there, I'm like, where's his parent? Because my kids know. I know that's the main reason why they don't get in trouble because they know they get in trouble, it's gonna be a problem. If I ever had my kid actually was locked up, his ass staying up in there. I'm not going to bail him out. Nobody picking him up. He's sitting up in there as long as they till they let his ass out. Really, because I'm sitting there like, what? I mean, like I would be, and then when he come out, he gonna deal with me. So we got a lot. So I mean, like I set that expectation, those understandings for them at an early age, right? Because they got to go out into the real world. But the question is, in the back of my daughter's mind, when that little boy trying to get in her pants, she thinking about what's going to happen with me. She think, like when it's all said and done, she think about what's gonna happen with me. That's what I'm talking about. Like holding our kids accountable and setting that level of expectation. Like, don't let yourself down. Boys aren't important right now, little girl. You'll go through a lot of them. You're pretty. But right now, it's about you. It's what we've been talking about, right? It's about your focus, what you're going to be. Focus on your grades. You be great. They'll come to you, but you be great. You're not gonna be that kid that's dependent on some dude. Like we didn't get this far for you to be dependent on a man. That's not happening here. You're gonna do what you do. You're gonna be very successful, and you'll have your little pick of the litter. And until you get to that successful part, you're gonna listen to me. So that's what I'm saying. That accountability in our culture needs to be there instead of like when these kids get in trouble, parents running around talking about, nah, my kid ain't do it. Whatever, man. Whatever. You ain't even know where he or she was. What are you talking about, right? Come on. Like if we not holding our kids and people accountable, what are we doing out here?
Because my son have these friends or whatever, he wanna hang out with them, and they be like, "Oh, my mom let me do whatever I want." He asked me, I was like, "Cause I'm not their mama.
There you go.
They can do whatever they want. I don't care. They mother don't know where they at 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah. And that's
I don't know."
come on. It's like, come on, you can't let that happen. Don't know where your kid at 11 o'clock at night. Like what? And then when she come home pregnant or he in jail, you sit up there making excuses. Nah, you didn't put any kind of boundaries and parameters around that kid. You didn't have any high expectations for that kid. You didn't hold that kid accountable when they first got in trouble. So you just let the trouble keep happening, happening, happening. What? Come on. That doesn't happen in other communities, other cultures. They don't have that. Like their parents hold them accountable. It's like you're not gonna have that. Not to say that other cultures are perfect, because of course they're going through it. But it just seems like we just go through it at a different level.
And we could see they not playing with their kids. They don't gotta say nothing. They look at them and their kids be shaking. Cause I
Exactly.
work in the school. I'll be like, "You want me to tell your parents?" I'm like, "No." Okay,
Yeah.
cut it out.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So, and you already know them little badass kids, their parents not doing anything because they look at you like, yeah, tell my mama. Like,
Mm-hmm.
they looking at you like, tell my daddy. Like, oh, I don't know. Like, come on, like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta nip those behaviors in the bud early.
Cause
When
I'm
they're
a
young.
teacher, right? And one of his boys cursed me out. He cursed me out and then said, "I'm gonna tell my mother." I was like, "You gonna tell your mother you cursed me out? Go ahead." And then there's kids that's in school talking about, "I talk to my mom like this. What's wrong with talk to my mom like that?" Girl.
This is
So
all I'm
I'll be
saying.
like, whose kids are these?
This is all I'm saying. These parents that want to be friends, and let their kids talk to them any kind of way. And then when they get older and they're getting disrespected, they're like, why? Why is Susie talking to me like this? What? She been talking to you like that since she 4 or 5. Like, what are we talking about right now? Like, come on, she gonna grow out of it. No, she's learning the behavior. And she really feels like it's okay. So why is she gonna listen to you once she get in that situation with boys come tapping the door? Like what? Why is she gonna listen to you? She think y'all buddies, y'all friends. Nah, I never believed in that. I've never been on that whole friendship with your kids. We parents. I wanted to have a close relationship. You can talk to me about anything, but we're not equals, not even close.
I didn't even grow up like that thinking that parents and kids were friends. It was always like, I see you, I don't want to hear from you. I don't need to hear from you. When I'm talking, you don't need to be here. So I was like, where did they get that from?
No idea. No idea why. Again, I think a part of it though, again, is kids having kids. When they have kids at such a young age, then they're still growing up themselves. Or
And
grandma raising them.
there's sometimes a repeated cycle. You see grandma's 30, this one's 15, this one.
Yeah,
So I
you see
kind
it
of
all
get
the
it.
time. And
Oof.
that's not cool because grandma, oh, she out of touch. She not she not trying to take care of no little kid. Come on, let's be real. Like that's just not happening. That's not a good combination. Grandma just wanted them to go to sleep at night. So it's just this repetitive cycle that you see in our community. And it's hard to, again, a lot of time that's affiliated with, you know, just the environment that these kids are being raised in. And then that's when I have a lot of empathy for them because when that's what you see, my cousin pregnant at 15, you think that's all right. When it's just that cycle. Same thing with, again, in that book, I'm looking at drug dealers and I'm like, oh, drug dealers, okay, they got the best cars, they wear the best jewelry. All right. It was like, yeah, that's what I want to be. So when you're around that environment, you're inundated in that environment. And again, these are parents that's trying to, they're trying to be parents, but they're trying to get their lives together too. When you're in that environment, you're going to emulate what you see.
There was a lot of things that I went through growing up that I didn't realize was toxic. Like I did not realize that for like Thanksgiving and Christmas that people actually gather and have like dinner together because we never did at
See?
home. So then when I moved out and I went to my friend's house, she was like, I was like, oh, what y'all gonna do for Thanksgiving? She just, we're staying here and everybody's gonna come. I was like, and do what? I was confused.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize like people do have like family oriented people. They have like these big traditions and it has to be every year this and that. So I was like, we don't do that. So I learned that what I thought was normal. I was like, oh, people don't do that. So I used to always get in trouble. When you walk in the door, you're supposed to say hi to people, but we didn't do that at home. I used to get in trouble all the time. She's like, you walk in this door and you ain't say hello. I was like, so I felt like once I moved out my house, I got humbled real quick about what to do and what not to do with other people. Because we
Yeah.
didn't do it at home. I didn't know.
Yeah, it's again, life can teach us a lot, right? Because everybody has different lives. Everybody raised in a different space. And I don't think that I'll ever stop learning. It's always something that I'm learning, figuring out. And that's the best part about life, evolving, not being in that same space. You shouldn't be the same person at 30 that you were at 20. You shouldn't be. You shouldn't be the same person at 50 that you were at 40. Like you should
That's
have
true.
evolved and grown. So, that's a part of life and that's a good part of life. Like just really have to embrace it. And, like you said now, you do Thanksgiving your way.
I was just shocked. Like, y'all doing what? Why we staying here for?
Totally understandable.
Candace, do you have any other questions?
Yeah, I do have one question, off topic, but like it's about opportunities. Like, opportunities, it's a thing that sometimes it comes, sometimes it goes, and people always have so much stuff to say about opportunities. I guess my thing is like when you do have an opportunity and it's an opportunity to grow and to learn a lot from. How do you maximize on that? Like what type of tools can you put into place to maximize on an opportunity that you have at hand in the moment?
Biggest part is educating yourself on the subject matter, whatever it might be. So anytime specifically if it's something that, I usually stay within my, first of all, the best opportunities come when you stay within your realm of expertise, right? So I'm almost always ready for those because this is what I do. But if it's an opportunity that comes along and I'm not really like familiar with the arena, the first thing I'm doing is educating myself. And I think that's a game changer now, right? Because you have so much information at your fingertips. And we're also in the middle of another revolution because I was there for the internet revolution, and now we're having the AI revolution. And this one's even going to be more important because now you could plug anything in Chat GPT and get a real good answer, right? So if an opportunity presents itself, first of all, I have to equip myself with knowledge. So when I walk into that space, I'm ready. That's it. It's about preparation. That's how I maximize it, right? I maximize it based on preparation, knowing everything that I possibly can about the subject matter. So when it's my time up, I'm speaking as if I'm an expert because I at that point I've learned everything I can. And again, it's much easier and achievable now because you have the technology right there at your fingertips. So again, I'm from a generation where information was harder to come by. Had to go to the library, look for certain books. Really had to, they had the stupid yellow pages. You might have to call somebody that was, find a lawyer. It's ridiculous. Now, really, you like at your fingertips, you can get pretty much almost an answer to anything. So instead of now it's flipped. Back in my day, you couldn't find the information. Now you're saturated with information. Now it's just your responsibility to make sure that information is accurate, meaning I'm not going to the left wing or the right wing. I'm finding midstream, common sense answers, right? I don't need opinionated answers. I need consensus answers. And once I have those answers, it's on. So that's it. It's preparation and knowledge.
I like your answer. But to piggyback off of you, for me, when opportunities come, if I can take it, I take them, even if I don't know what it is, I usually just take it and then learn along the way. But the most important thing for me is I think growing up with the type of parents that I learned to be resourceful, and that's something that you said. Learning to be resourceful, like, okay, I know there's somebody out here that know this stuff. I'm gonna find that person. So I usually go to the experts, like, tell me, can you tell me what book, what website? Just give me something. And then I go from there, get the info from the experts. I don't believe in fake it till you make it. I don't believe in that because that's only gonna take you so far. At some point, you really gotta know what you're talking about because people could tell.
Right.
So for me, it's just about being very resourceful, not just relying on like the internet, but also like digging into the books. Because that's really hard, the good stuff. I'm telling you, I get my PhD. I be like, that's all the stuff that we need to know is in these books. Um, but just going out there, being resourceful, finding the people that I know, getting in touch with, or going places, like really that thinking outside the box that you talked about with your mother, that's always me. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna do it.
There you go.
Because
There
it's
you
not
go.
sometimes they don't come back. Like some opportunities, you miss it, that's it.
That's it. Yes, you only get one shot. Because if it's really an opportunity, somebody else is right there waiting for it too, right?
Yep,
So you only get
that's
you
it.
only get you only get one shot. So I'm with you. Like even if I don't know, I'm going to know. I'm gonna do everything I can to know. But yeah, you just have to jump in, like not turn it down. I mean,
Yeah.
turning it down leads to regret, right? Because then you're like, I wish I had done this. Nah, you don't want to live with that.
And you don't need to know everything. Some like when people give you opportunities, we don't know what to what extent the opportunity is. Like sometimes they'll just give you this and be like, "Oh, do this," and then sometimes they don't give you stuff. So it's all of these unknowns. So it's just like, okay, I'm just gonna take it. It is what it is. They give me something, great. They don't give me nothing, I got some.
Yeah.
But people, I feel like people overthink it and like, oh my God, I don't know what to do, and I think I'm gonna mess up. And I'll be like, listen, who's gonna know that you made a mistake on the stage Nobody gonna know that but you unless you tell them.
Right.
Listen, I done made so many mistakes and had so many bad days in front of people and they don't know.
They don't, because they don't know exactly your subject matter, what you're speaking to, how you want to relay it. So, like you
Mhm.
said, people that get caught up in the moment, go, "Oh, I made a mistake," and they flop. Is only because they're overthinking it in the moment. You just have to be able to adjust. That's how it
And
works. Yeah.
and you know these people clapping. I'm like, what y'all clapping at? It's horrible. But they just clapping like that's the best thing ever.
Yeah, there you
Okay.
go. Yeah, we've all had those.
Oh man, I just love like the transparency, and I wish that more people were, because I'm a very transparent person too, and I believe that that helps with your authenticity, and people can see how genuine you are sharing a story. Like, I feel like what is the point of going through something if you're not going to share it and help somebody else?
That's it.
Whether we know them or not. Like, there's so many people when we're talking we don't know who is listening and receiving, right? And I
Yep.
think that by keeping stuff to yourself, I feel like that's how we block our blessings because you don't know who is around you listening. And even those that we know them and we be like, yeah, you ain't listening. They are listening. This in their time they're gonna do what they need to do.
Hmm.
I really enjoy this conversation.
Yeah, and definitely thanks for having me out, Sherry. And if you ever want me to circle back, I'd be happy to do so.
Of course we do. Somebody, it would have to be. We usually have our big meetings every Sunday, so if you were to circle back, it would have to be on the Sunday where the big, because we don't meet on Friday.
Hmm.
So we just circle back and do like the big main meetings that we always have.
Yeah, again, I'm super flexible. So whatever works for you works for me. So I'll definitely be there. Just shoot me that invite, and I promise you, I'll be right there in the middle of it.
Okay. Candace, any last questions?
No, I just think it was a very fruitful conversation. I really loved it. First time here, and I love the convos. I love everything. So
Yeah.
thanks for showing up. Thanks for the convo and the insightful stuff. Definitely took a
Mhm.
lot of notes. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, like I said, thanks for having me out, and I hopefully, yeah, let me send me another date. I'll be right back.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
we'll be on a Sunday at 6 p.m. because that's our usual.
Yeah, whatever day I'll be there. I promise.
Okay. And
Yeah.
maybe we could do like I don't know if you're on Instagram, but like an Instagram live to talk about the
Yeah, I'm
day,
on
right?
IG, Marcel Clarke _
Okay, so then we could just go on IG live and just talk about the book like this, but just me and you just and see who joins us. We could do it
I'm
too.
on. Yeah, make this whatever format you want to set up, Sherry. Just shoot me a date. I'll make sure my calendar clear and I'm there.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys, and you
All
guys
right.
have a
No
great weekend.
problem. You too.
Bye.
Bye.